Hey folks, welcome back to Threes In. Bobo's here again. So, as promised, I'm going to talk a little bit about tactical formation. Now, the tactical formation we flew in T-38s was a spread of 4,000 to 6,000 feet laterally and 500 feet below to 1,500 feet above the lead aircraft. So the question comes up, how do you know when you're 4,000 feet? You don't have a lateral measuring stick in there. Well, we use the TLAR method. You look out the window at the other guy and you think to yourself, that looks about right. And yeah, it usually was. Never had anybody complain. You're only 3,780 feet away. Oh, kiss my ass. Okay, you got the picture. So we'd spread 4,000 to 6,000 feet, 350 knots, and then once you're stabilizing, the lead would begin maneuvering. So they would do, you've got your vertical spacing, and what he would do is, let's say this guy's the lead, okay? He'd do a turn into you, and your objective was to maintain a position by maneuvering. So you would come up a little bit and kind of go into a little bit of a roll here. You don't want to get your nose too high. Go in a little bit of roll, and then watch for him to spit out this backside, and then come down behind him like that and rejoin and maintain position. Usually you tried to get to the inside of the turn because driving around the outside is going to take a lot of time and a lot of gas. So we'd practice 90-degree turns and maneuvering to get into position. And then we would we would fly 180-degree turns, in-place turns. So you'd do that in-place turn. And then we did a maneuver called a weave, where you would be flying like this and you just cross over like that and cross over like that. I guess there was a place for that or reason for it. I suppose it was. It was in the book. There had to be a reason for it. So we do a weave. So, okay. The rejoins, like I said, were the fun part because you had essentially two of them. A turning away where you're number two, and you've got this one, you just come and dive downhill, come to the inside of the turn, and then rejoin on them. And the other one was a turning into. He comes into you, so you go up and do a little bit of maneuvering. It was in tactical that I discovered a real passion for rejoins, because when you're flying in position, you're stabilized here. You're flying the same power setting lead is. So lead would go into a turn, call for the rejoin, say go into a turn. You're at the same power setting. So what I like to do is just to leave the power alone and just maneuver using the vertical, both up and down, without touching the throttles. And I found I could do that. I don't think I'd want to go down. No, that wouldn't work. Anyway, I could do that. And then it dawned on me that maneuvering, leaving the power the same without touching as leads, and losing airspeed and then gaining speed back as I came back downhill on the backside of the turn, was nothing more than advanced calculus. Now, I was a math major in school. I'm not very good at arithmetic, but I loved math. So it dawned on me one day as I was flying out there that, wait a minute, this is just nothing more than applied calculus. Because you're changing airspeed and you change a lot of things over time. And when all of a sudden it clicked on me and it all came together. It was like a eureka moment. And once I figured that out, my flying took a leap that I could notice, and it was a lot of fun to feel. And it was like, at that time, I knew when I strapped that jet on, it was me at that time, and I didn't even have to think about it. It was just so much fun. A lot of times on rejoins, I just take my left hand, leave it off the throttle, didn't need it. Just maneuver with the stick and so forth. And tried to maneuver very fluid so that I didn't, with overuse of G, wipe off too much airspeed. Because now you use the throttles to add power to get what you just wiped off, to get that smash back. So anyway, it became just fun playing with that. And I just loved doing that. And it worked on rejoins just about from any maneuver you were doing. And it was fluid, and I don't know, I'm having too good a time here. I don't want to rejoin because that means we have to go home. Anyway, you got the idea. I remember one time coming back off a ride and sitting down with a student, and he said to me, he says, Captain Holliker, he said, that last maneuver you did in out there in tactical on that rejoin, he said, how exactly did you do that? And I'm embarrassed to tell you, I didn't know. I didn't know how I did it. It was just so, and those of you that have been in the instructor business, sometimes you do these things. You don't do them to show them up. I mean, there's no point in that. But sometimes we do things and somebody says, how'd you do that? I honestly don't know. It was just the thing to do at the time. Could have been a counter roll where you just do a counter roll into the guy. It could have been a lot of things. I still can't remember. But now I've got age that I can fall back to. But anyway, you get the idea. You gain a lot in flying tactical, and they use that formation. We practiced it in 2-ship, and then we carried it over into 4-ship. Now that was could be a real goat rope. Again, it goes back to the briefing. If you didn't brief that correctly, you could get hurt out there pretty quick. So that kind of ties up a little bit what I wanted to say. Ties up everything I wanted to say about tactical. So we'll just leave it at that. Come back to the pattern for base gear stop.